the FDA has given you and your company approval for clinical trials of a COVID-19 treatment. Where are we in that process? Can you give us an update on the progress there?
Thank you for having me here. Yes, indeed, we got the clinical trial approval from the US FDA, and we are at stage of collaborating with the US government to initiating the antibody trials for the COVID-19. The drug itself is going to be different from the vaccine, now the first generation mRNA vaccine, in its uniqueness to fight directly with the virus instead of to prevent. So it's rather a treatment for a more severe patients if they have the condition.
Okay, where would you expect the primary market to be then, Wenjie, for that treatment?
It's going to be people infected with severe symptoms, life-threatening symptoms.
Okay, we've seen the vaccine roll out, we've seen it in the US, in Europe, other countries around the world, but also here in China with the Sinovac vaccine. There have been some concerns about transparency around the stage 3 trials by Sinovac. I just wanted to get more broadly your sense of where we stand in terms of that process of publishing data for public consumption here in China and safety questions about the Sinovac vaccine.
Look, I think even you look at what happened in the US and the UK for its record-breaking approval of the mRNA vaccine, it only takes 9 months. Comparing with about 10, 15 years normally for vaccine development. It's under a very special circumstance for the government to take a special measure creating special regulatory pathway for such urgent medical needs. I think China is no difference. The government rightly to take special measure for its own vaccine development. I see there are some specialties, basically particularities for developing such a vaccine in both the US, UK, and in China. I think the government is doing the right thing.
Okay, what is the pipeline looking like for Henlius then, as we look to the rest of 2021 and beyond?
Yeah, the uniqueness for Henlius is two-pronged. Basically, we have two pillars of development anchors. One is the well-known biosimilar. We had the first biosimilar product approval in China in 2019, the rituximab, and last year we had the first both China and the European approval of trastuzumab, the monoclonal antibody for breast cancer in China and the European as well. The other pillar is our innovative pipeline. We have the PD-1 and we have a variety of novel targets in the early stage of development. And also we are actively looking for partner in supplementing our innovative pipeline.
What is the R&D spend looking like for Henlius this year?
It's pretty tremendous a number, especially for the size and stage like Henlius. It's a large number. That's all I can say. We will have to see the annual report coming up in 2 months, but that reflects the ambition of Henlius. As I said, not only we in the biosimilar, but also we are adventuring in the very novel front of the medical treatment. The COVID-19 antibody is a good example, and plus many others.
Okay. There has been a change in the pricing structure in the Chinese market, bulk buying to try to get cheaper drugs to consumers and patients here in the Chinese market. But there is a pressure point then on some of the pharmaceutical companies here. What are you seeing in terms of price pressure as a result of those changes, and what is it going to mean in terms of earnings?
Well, the recent VPB, the price cut due to the what's so-called 4+7 government purchasing, I think that's a solution for a long accumulated problem back many years. Look, the price differential between the so-called off-patent originator and the local generics, and many copies of generics for same molecules, and also the quite disparity in terms of pricing and quality among many brands. I think the government is taking the right measure to clean up a long old historical problem. And now I think we are at the stage of moving to the next phase of the pricing. I think the price pressure is going to continue for a while, but eventually it will get to an equilibrium. It's a much healthy state that a reasonable price for the government and for the patients, and also a sustainable price for the industry itself. So I think this is rather a dynamic, ongoing toward the healthy one.
What will it mean for margins for your business in 2021?
We are in the biosimilar and innovative drug segment, which is so far is not covered by the government purchasing. So it's rather a more pure market dynamic mechanism working here. So in terms of margin of our product, I think we have a rather positive view on it, and also we see continuous improvement in our manufacturing scale and technology. The margin is going to get a lot better down the road.
What are some of the broader trends that investors should be thinking about in terms of China's healthcare sector?
Yeah, I think there are many themes. Here, what I want to talk about first, the innovation trend of the biotech industry. I think it's only at the beginning stage, and mainly so far you look at the so-called innovation of the biotech sector. It's mainly replicating and following the innovations overseas. But right now we are at the conjunction that we're moving into the next phase, which is more technology-driven innovation. Look at we're going to advance from the monoclonal antibody to biospecific antibody, from the monoclonal antibody to the drug conjugate so far. So I think also, within that mix, true innovation is emerging, even though it's going to take time. And second, it's the market involvement. We mentioned that we are moving from the price disparity between the MNC and the local, from the different drug quality to a more reliable quality. And so the market itself is getting a lot healthier, and not only in terms of the price, not only in terms of the profit margin. More importantly, is really for the patients to get standard of care. I'll give you an example of the product we launched, the trastuzumab for breast cancer. Even we have made significant progress during the past 3-4 years since the Herceptin get into the reimbursement. Still, we estimate about 1/3 of the HER2-positive breast cancer patients is not being treated by standard of care. We are talking about a large number, 1/3, about 30,000 strong. So I think the market still, is getting a lot more room to grow, even though we made progress.
Yeah, and of course, an important element to address. Just last question here on regulatory challenges. What are the key regulatory hurdles that the industry faces?
Well, before we talk about the hurdles, I have to say we need to give a lot of credit to the government. Since 2015, the regulatory reform, we have made a huge progress. I think that's the one major factor contributing to the recent surge of the biotech industry in terms of innovation capability. Obviously, there are more, we would like to see down the road. Basically, look at the example of COVID-19, 9 months, by the U.S. company, meaning that there are a lot of room in the U.S. and in China for the regulatory reform to continue to make the industry, especially the R&D, more efficient and more effective.